Hello, Gareth here, and in today's watercolor lesson we're going to paint this scene. So this place is Yufu, I think, or this area, and it's in Oita prefecture, Japan, which is where I live. And I took this photo a couple of years ago after a trip to this area, and I did do a painting. I'm not sure when, 1 or 2 years ago, and for some reason this year I decided to have another go. And I think it's a fairly easy picture to paint. I think so. You can tell me. And I did a bigger version. Here's the bigger version. So as usual, I go a bit over the top with the colours. I like to do that. So I think the most difficult thing in this painting are these wires. So I've got a special brush for that. Sometimes I use this bamboo brush, which when it's wet is quite pointed, but I also use this brush. So just go to your local art shop or go on the internet and just look for a brush that's really thin, and hopefully it will work. They don't always. It's a little bit of a gamble. So there's not really a lot to say about doing this painting. It may look complicated, but it's fairly simple. We'll do a very simple drawing, and maybe the most difficult thing is getting the perspective right with the road and also with the cars. So for example, this car, which is in the foreground slightly compared to this one, it needs to be a bit lower down, but the tops need to be about the same height if we're looking at normal eye level. And I might not add this figure because it looks like he's committing suicide. He's walking into an oncoming car. I might have him walking across more. I don't know. So I'll think about that once I begin. And the sky is definitely over the top. You can see that yellow, that red, that blue, but I love it. I like to exaggerate things. If you don't, then you make it a bit more subtle, yeah? And also a lot of exaggeration here as well. So, but I like to do that. So let's begin, and most important thing, let's have some fun. Okay, so first I'm going to do a drawing, very simple drawing. So the most important thing is to figure out where the horizon line will go. So I'm going to have it fairly low, below the middle. And it ends about here, the road line. So the horizon line is here, and the road, the edge of the road ends about here. Then we've got a big curving bit here, like that. Yeah, I might make this area a bit bigger. I'm going to change things a little bit and have this come over a bit further. So I need my eraser. And then here I'm going to have something like a house. You don't want to be too rigid with what you draw at the beginning, because if you are rigid, then you don't really want to change it, but sometimes it's a good idea to change it. So you want to do this very lightly, not strong pencil strokes. And then the important thing with this bit here is it goes up very steeply like this. And then we've got like a big tree here with some leaves and stuff. So that's pretty good. Over here I've got a distant mountain. I'm not going to draw it because it's very light and the pencil lines will show through. It's not such a big deal, but I don't want them to show too much. Okay, then over here I've got like some house, roof, so that was too big, so I'm going to make it a bit smaller, and then over here another roof and make it a bit more slanted than it was originally. Yeah, maybe that's good. But that's too high. So this is what I mean about draw loosely, because then you're not too fussed about erasing stuff and starting again. Then I've got a big tree here, small one here. Sorry about the motorbike sound in the background. I really hate motorbikes because they're so noisy. And then maybe some bush here. Okay, that's pretty good. And then here we've got, yeah, some grass and more grass here, and then in the distance more grass. So that's pretty good. And then the road there. And I'm going to have a figure here, so maybe he's about this high, maybe some kind of farmer. I really need to get like a reference photo. This is just from my imagination, and I don't think I'm doing such a good job of it. Maybe he's got a bucket in this hand, and in the other hand, maybe he's got something like a hoe. We'll just have a wooden pole or something. And then the bottom part is going to disappear into this area, which is going to be very dark. And then here I'm going to have maybe a car going away. How high will it be? Maybe about here. So this is going away from us. Maybe it should be a little bit wider. Now, so I made him a little bit bigger. Okay, I think that's okay. So we've got the farmer in the middle of the road. I'm not sure what I think about that. Maybe he could be moving across. What do you think? Shall we try that? So, I'm a coward. Should be a bit braver than I really am. You know, it's important to mess around with stuff. So I'm going to have him walking across the road, so we're going to change this. So one arm there, He's back there. He's taking a bold stride across the road, but a lot of this is just going to disappear into the distance. Let's make him even bigger. Wow. Looks like he's got a tiny head now. And here's that hoe. And let's do his hat. Make that bigger. So you understand now what I mean about you've really got to do things in a loose way, because you're just not going to have the courage to change it. And I quite like that. It's not quite right, but it's good enough. And he's crossing the road. Maybe this is his home. So we've got a little bit of a story now, or we've got some kind of movement and something's happening. Somebody's going from one place to another place. Yeah, that's good if you can do that kind of thing in your paintings. Yeah. So now it's time to begin, and I'm going to use my big mop brush, and I'm sweating buckets here. So yeah, no reference to this bucket. It's Japan. This is Japan, and it's really hot, maybe 32 degrees. I've got no air conditioner on because it's noisy, and the water is just pouring down me. But it actually feels really good. It feels quite refreshing. And I'm using yellow ochre. So the important thing about painting, which it's taken me a long time to learn, and that is just really relax, be at peace, and just enjoy yourself. So I'm doing pure yellow ochre, leaving white space there. And then I'm going to do pure red here. It's alizarin crimson. I love this colour. Look at that colour. Isn't that beautiful? And I just blend that in, and I do a few stripes like that. And then here, just water. And I should say to you that I've painted this picture quite a few times now. Maybe this is the 7th or 8th time. So it makes a difference. And I'm not saying you've got to paint it that many times, not at all. Twice at most, I think, is good enough, or 3 times. However, if you really enjoy painting it, then just do it again and again and again. That's good. But only if you really, really get into it. Because doesn't that look nice? I'm just going to spray it to keep it wet. Because it really matters if you're enjoying painting. Because if you're not enjoying it, then you're just not going to get such good results, I think. Anyway, lecture over. So that's just a mix of red and blue. And now we're going to go even stronger. My daughter said to me, "Daddy, that road is not purple." So, yeah. But the thing is, although people might think I'm a realistic painter, I don't put myself in that bracket. I like to move between, I don't know, like realism to abstraction to impressionism. So just to let you know. And now I've mixed 3 colours, a red, a blue and a yellow ochre, and that gives me this grey colour, which looks lovely. So I've graded this road, yeah, it's become darker and darker. So yeah, it's my favourite 3 colours: phthalo blue, alizarin crimson and yellow ochre. And then I'm just going to spray the sky because it's drying out. So you have to remember that. And then I'm just going to get pure blue and I'm just going to do his shirt. Might even do his face, not his hat though. Ooh, I went a bit wrong there, but there you go. I painted his hat a little. So I'm going to do the clouds now before this dries and quickly give it a spray. If you spray this while it's still fairly wet, it's good. But if it's getting quite dry, then you're going to get a textural effect, which sometimes you might want. So for the clouds, I'm going to use this light blue, a touch of red. So I get a kind of purple, and then a touch of yellow ochre. And I think it's already got a bit of yellow ochre in it, which will grey it off. And here we go. So the important point here is you don't want to cover the whole area. When beginners paint a picture, it's like they're painting a wall and they've just got to paint everything. And so you just basically destroy it because you've got no lovely gaps with the sky underneath, that glowing sky coming through, because you've just painted everything. It's just the way the brain works. And that's enough. I want to do more, but I've covered quite a lot. So let's just leave that. And that's wet in wet that we've done there. Now I'm going to do this grass, and basically that's just going to be yellow. I've got Imidazoline yellow. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. And here it's dried, but don't worry about it. It's going to like do some funny stuff, but just a little. Up here it's fairly wet still though. So it's spread out a bit, but later on I'm going to darken this road at the bottom again, so it's going to cover that, but I think it's okay to have a few marks like this. I should have done this in a bit more of a dry, brushy way and left a few white gaps. I've got a little bit of white here, but there you go. And then just spray it. And that's it. We've done the first wash. It's a big wash. It's a very big wash, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah, this looks very dramatic, doesn't it? I like dramatic. Okay, let's leave it to dry. It has now dried, and I'm going to paint a distant mountain. So I want it to have a soft edge, so I'm going to wet the paper first using this flat brush. And you don't want to do this too many times because you will shift the paint below. So that should do. Then I get my pointed oval, my favourite brush, water, dab on the sponge, get some light blue. This is Cobalt turquoise light, but cerulean blue, or however you pronounce it, is okay, or some other light blue. And then I add a touch of alizarin crimson, so it's quite a thick mix. And then let's test it. Might be okay. If it just explodes all over the place, then it's like still too wet. Mine probably wasn't wet enough, but it can be difficult to get it right. But it's got a bit of a soft edge. And then down here, have to be careful my brush is not too wet. Just do that. Okay. And then just blend that into there. Like that. Yeah, that's nice. And then I think we can even do the grass. So yeah, I'll have a go at the grass. So I use a touch of yellow and then a touch of this light blue, and I make quite a light colour. I might add a little bit of yellow ochre just because it's a bit too garish, I think, because it's meant to be like a shadowy colour. And then I might do this, splay the hairs, because that can give a nice dry brush effect. And you've got to remember perspective when you do this, so it's bigger here and it gets smaller. And then another bit here. And then finally here. There's a bit. Just spray that to keep it wet. Have to be careful not to spray here too much. Then we're going for a darker colour. So I'm using blue, phthalo blue, a touch of alizarin crimson, a touch of yellow ochre. That's too much. Just wipe it off. And there we go. Hopefully that will work. And then just put in a bit there. Don't make it all the same size. And of course, in the foreground, it's going to be a bit bigger. And then I get this long, thin brush, bamboo brush, and maybe we'll use yellow to begin with, and just do some lines like this. You can even do just water, and it just makes it look a bit more interesting. The most important thing is just to relax and have some fun and experiment. Okay, I'm going to do a bit of darker mix up here. Oh, that's looking nice. and I'm squinting my eyes in order to see what it looks like overall. And just going to do like a little touch here to make this edge a bit more interesting and not too similar, yeah. Break it up a bit. Okay, let's do that corner. Oh, it's looking nice. Yep. Now I should leave that just like that, but like I said, I like to experiment. I like to push it a little. So I'm going to do a bit of splatter. So I'm using some yellow and I'm just going to do a little bit like that. And that's it, finished. Let's leave that to dry. Now this has dried and I'm going to paint this hill which is covered with trees. So it's quite a big space, so I'm going to use my mop brush because I can quickly cover a large space with this brush. Now I'm going to begin with quite a dark mix, so phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, big generous amounts of paint here. You just can't do this with little amounts of paint. And then some yellow ochre. Whoops, bit more red. Some water, more water, and then more red. More red. It's getting quite messy. And yellow ochre. And then here we go. Let's see. Yeah, not too bad. But what I want to do now is maybe at the bottom, this dark colour is going to be quite good. But maybe I need to vary it a little. So I'm going to add a lot of red now at the top. I say a lot of red. Nothing happens. Let's have another go. There we go. No, nothing happened. Try again. Red. At last I got it. Now I'm going to spray it. Keep it nice and wet. Then at the bottom, I'm going to add a bit more of this yellow ochre. Don't want it to be too thick. Carefully paint around this hat. Shouldn't worry about this too much at the moment, not with this brush. Okay, so let's use the other brush now, the pointed oval. With this brush we can do edges much more easily. So what I'm going to do here is this distant area, and I'm going to use mostly a light blue with a touch of this. That's all. It's almost like cooking, I think. Just mixing things. Okay, and then off into the distance we've got little bits and pieces of stuff. Okay, and then mix that in. And then we'll go around this car. Try to be quite careful. Now this is where it becomes challenging because you want to be careful and paint around these edges well. However, if you take a long time doing this, then this paint's drying, and that's your problem. And of course, if you're a beginner, it's quite difficult to paint quickly because, you know, it takes time to get good at that. So that's one of the big challenges. Now I'm going to do the top bit, and I splay the hairs like that, and then I go like this, and I get this lovely rough edge. Hopefully, splay it again. Yeah, and if I can get some gaps in there, then that really is good. Now, I have been practicing this a lot, so this comes very easy to me, and I can do it very quickly, and that really helps me tremendously. So you might not be able to go as quickly as me at the moment, so what you'll have to do is keep spraying. But remember, never spray directly, spray horizontally and have the drops fall down. That way you don't shift the paint. So that's looking pretty good. That hat maybe is a bit too big though. That's a bit better. So then it's back to spraying a bit more. And then this is where we do the fun thing. So the fun thing is we use this bamboo brush. We get a lot of watery red, maybe here, hopefully not too dirty. And what we're going to do is here, we're going to add loads of it. And we're going to have it run down. Try to keep your gaps if you can, but it's not easy, especially at first as a beginner. Just gradually, yeah, bit by bit. And here we go, loads of water. And just, I'm really piling on the water now. And hoping this paint is going to run down, but hopefully not too much. But I'm going a bit crazy. And then we can do these rays that you get with the sun, right? You get these rays of light coming down like this. So this is one of the scary things about watercolor painting, doing things like this, but it's also one of the fun things, you know? They kind of go together. Then let's do the shadowy areas at the bottom here. So for that, I'm using this light blue and a touch of red. And then I'm having to think about where will these shadows come? And then I'm trying to copy this in a way. And then the car isn't such a big problem. And then here we've got some shadows. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just roughly correct. And then here. And let's imagine, where's that going to come? Maybe down here like this. Bit by bit, these shadows are becoming like vertical as the light comes down like that. And then this figure is going to be lost in the darkness. Lost in the darkness. I like that. But not completely lost. Else, if he was completely lost, there'd be no point. Partially lost. There we go. It's looking quite good. I'm going a bit dark there, but that's fine. And he just helps to relieve this enormously dark area, because without him, it would just be too dark, too overwhelming, yeah, I think. And look how dramatic that is, the way it sweeps up like that. So try to get that dramatic curve going up, yeah. painting is a lot about drama, exaggeration, things like that. Well, the way I paint. Some people paint realistically, which is completely fine. Completely fine. Okay, so this is looking fairly okay. But there's something. Yes, splatter. I'm going to do some splatter. Okay, so here we go, splatter, splatter. So maybe light blue, yeah, bit watery, and then here, just do some splatter. And again, it just helps to relieve the monotony of this huge space, yeah? Because it's such a huge space, you need something more. And I think that's looking quite good. I'm just tilting it to let it run down a bit because I was beginning to get a pool just there and we don't want that. Oh, and I didn't want to do that. Things like that happen. Try not to get too unhappy about things like that. We can correct it. So clean my brush, wipe it, go over this again. And then I might go over this with a touch of blue. That black really wants to come in, doesn't it? So it happens. I'll try and get rid of it again. I can get rid of it a bit here, right? And then one more time. So sometimes watercolor painting can become quite a mucky business where you're really fighting, but that's okay. That can be quite fun too. And it's always helping to improve your skills, yeah? It's always making you better, even if the painting doesn't always work out. You got a bit better at painting through the experience, yeah? And I like that. I think that's pretty good. So now I'm going to let that dry, and then we're going to do this area over here. And look at that sweep, and then those rays of light. That's pretty exciting. And we've got something interesting here in the bottom. Now it has mostly dried. There's a bit of a patch there, but I'm going to risk continue painting. And we're going to do this area here. So hopefully I can use this paint. There's a lot of red in there and we need more blue and yellow ochre because it's going to be a dark greeny colour. So yeah, that will do. Now we're going to do these trees, and it's really important to splay the hairs like this. That way we get this lovely edge. It does take a lot of practice to get this effect, but once you get it, it's really becomes quite easy after that. But at first it's quite a challenge. And I'm going to leave white bits for the roofs. The rooftops. Okay, and I'm hoping to leave that blue mountain in the distance. Yeah, that will do. Okay. I'm just going to spray that. And then this is I added a tiny little bit of water because it makes it easier to paint around these white bits, rooftops. And then that's enough for now because I want dry brush at the bottom. Wipe my brush. And then here I'm going to have a tree. The more gaps in this tree, the better. That's okay, but it's not great. And then here, wipe this. Hopefully I can get a bit of a dry brush effect, or at least a rough edge. Yeah, the dry brush didn't really work, but I've got a bit of a rough edge, and that will do. Ooh, I didn't need that, but there you go. Still, overall, it's quite good. So it's looking quite powerful now, this big dark area in the middle. It's really interesting. And just make this roof a bit better. Yeah, symmetrical. And it got a bit wet in the middle, so the paint's bleeding a bit. So let's just dab it with the rag. In fact, let's just dab the whole thing. Then throw that away because it's dirty. Let's try again. And it's a bit mucky there because my tissue got dirty. So maybe I can get rid of that. Clean tissue, wet the brush, and just use the water like an eraser. Sadly, I touched the paint by the side. You don't really want to do that. But if the brush is dry, I'm using the tissue to dry it, then maybe we can get away with that. Okay, just do that. I never had this problem before, but sometimes like that. Okay, that's good. Now we're going to do one of the hardest things, which is the utility pole. Might just use my finger and blend this in a little bit. A little bit of brush work as well. And that tree doesn't look quite right, a bit more even. Ah, I can't believe it. I've done that. What I'll do is I'll let it dry and then I'll wipe that out later. So next I'm going to do the pole. And I rotate the board because it's easier for me to paint in this direction. I can paint a much straighter line this way. And then I'm going to have another one of these, maybe about here. And then I'm going to do this bit going across. And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. They're a bit close together, but hopefully that's going to be okay. So let's just leave that to dry for now. Okay, let's continue. So I put these two utility poles too close together. I don't know why. It's not like that in the original photo, but there you go. sometimes things like that happen. I don't think it's a good idea removing one of them because it will look really messy. So we'll just try and make the best of it. I think what I might do now is I might have the lines coming across the road. So like that. So here we go. First I might do these. And then one over here. And then maybe over here. Now they get wider and thicker as they come towards you. But it's not always easy to paint that. So I think that's quite good. Don't worry if you get it wrong. I get it wrong. It happens. It's very difficult to do it right. Even that's not perfect. And it's best just to leave it rather than be finicky because you'll make it even worse. Although saying that, see, I don't even take my own advice. Maybe I can improve that. Now look at my brush. This is an excellent brush for that kind of work. Okay, and let's do this across. I do a few practice strokes and then I do the real one. And that's looking quite good now. I think that's passable. Then let's do this windscreen. So I'm going to get some red. This is going to be very dramatic. And do that. And then I'm going to do darker, maybe a blue and a red here. And maybe even darker. And then a little bit wet, a bit tricky to do this. And then hopefully it will blend in a bit like that. And then just maybe a bit of blue and just do that bit bluish there. And then blend it in with dark. And then that's done. Maybe I need to make it a little bit bigger. And a little bit more. And there we go. That's pretty good. I'm going to do a shadow on his hat. So this is a real watery blue and red. My light blue and my alizarin crimson. Like that. And I'm going to erase a little bit of that blue. It's too strong. And now it's okay. Okay, so, and I'm going to make these bluer. Similar mix, but a bit bluer. There we go. And a bit here. And then leave that to dry. Now it has dried and I'm going to do the bottom of the road darker. So I'm going to use my mop brush. It's quite dirty actually, but okay. Yeah, that will do. So I have to be careful that I don't go over this too much, because I will start to shift the paint. Then I get some red and blue, like that. And then here, I'm going to go really dark. Or at least try to. And then with this pointed oval, just blend it in a bit, get some blue. And blend in like that. And here too, blend in a little. I think that looks quite nice. And we've got this little light area here with this car. So that car might be a little bit on the big side, but it's still quite a nice composition. So I'm going to do some splatter. Part of me is saying, don't do splatter, Gareth. It looks fine. It looks fine, but I like to push it. So just going to use some light blue and add some texture in the foreground. Whoops. Like that. And then might do a bit of water too. Then I'm going to wipe that, and I'm going to get some clean surface, get some yellow ochre, a touch of alizarin crimson, a bit more. It's a bit dirty, but it's probably okay. And then here we go with a face. There's an ear. Okay. And I think that's okay. Yeah, I like that. And with the car, I'm using something like Cad Red. So I haven't put that in my list, I think, so yeah. But it's better than alizarin crimson because it's a warmer red. Hope you can see it. Alizarin crimson is a cool red, and when you do car lights, you need this warmer red. Look at that. It's a kind of lipstick red. Lovely. So let that dry, and then I'm going to use some white paint, and I think mostly that's it. So let's leave it to dry and then use the white paint. Okay, it has dried, and the final thing I think is just to do some finishing touches with titanium white. So hopefully that's around here somewhere. Here it is. So let's see, I think I'll use my bamboo brush. And really, I guess I can use this bit here. So I need a fairly thick mix. Ooh, switch my light on. There we go. Whoops. So here we go. So let's do this one first. Like that. And then let's continue. So it comes more out and it gets wider. I tried to improve it and made it worse. Okay. So I think that's not too bad. And then I'm going to have another one over here. And I know this is in shadow, and we probably wouldn't really see it, but I just like it. I think it looks good. And then some lines here. And this lane's going to be bigger because it's nearer to us. This is further away, so that lane's going to be a little bit more narrow. So you need to think about that. And this man is crossing the road. Yeah, and then this car, that rooftop is too flat. Has to be curved more. My brush is a bit too wet. Not too bad. Maybe the car looks slightly too big, but there you go. It's good enough. I can lighten this a little bit, I think. And I think that's about everything. So I guess I could add some birds in the sky over here. Shall we try that? Ooh, will it work? I don't know. Let's have a go. Just have to be careful not to make them too big. And then maybe one more. Maybe that's okay. And I think that's it. I've got a little bit of a white thing there, doesn't really matter. It'll be covered up when I frame it, but we can always do that. Just blend it in. And there we go, finished. So yeah, so please have a go, and just remember to relax, have fun and experiment. And yeah, that's it really. So see you in maybe another 2 weeks or 3 weeks with another watercolor lesson. Bye for now.